using a different microphone, just kind of testing things out here. And in doing so, I'm gonna pick up where we left off, criticizing Terrence Howard and how he just how this Oxford presentation just goes completely off the rails and shows some really strange types of thinking on behalf of this Hollywood actor here. So it's gonna continue off from where we left off. He's making his very last point. I say that with air quotes, quote unquote, point to make, and then after the clapping and the applause and the snickering, people having their giggles and laughs, then that's where we left off. Let's go.
This is what we call a loop. It is illogical, it doesn't make sense, and it does not make math make sense. So these are some things that I'm bringing to the fore and that I would like to question. I would like to audit the math, the world of mathematics, and I would like to audit how we view the Platonic solids, because I think the new wave conjugations will tell a better story of how our world works. And that's it.
And to translate that a bit, it was entirely meaningless. Audit the world of mathematics. What do you think that mathematicians do all the time? Is they peer review each other's work. So when there's new developments made, it's that we're auditing. We're very much able to self audit. When I say we, I mean mathematicians. I don't say people that know nothing of math, as in this gentleman right here.
It wasn't quite what I thought for, Chris.
Yeah,
but I wanted my pictures. You guys got it, and y'all won't even have time afterwards. But
oh, what a shame.
I've spent 45 years searching these things out.
Wait, 45 years? So how old is he right there? That's 45 years. That's like, is he trying to say that he's worked on this since he was like born?
And trying to figure out what the universe really, how it really worked. And we've come to find that the universe, they are abandoning the standard model, the ideas of black holes and dark matter, for an electric model of the universe that is in response to the Birkeland currents and all these things.
I don't think that is true. I'd have to fact check that though. I don't think anyone's abandoning the standard model of modern physics.
It's a better version, a better vision of how we should see the universe. That's how I see it, and I think it should be explored.
So just to add some context to this, Terrence and I have spent the afternoon together, and Terrence has showed me a lot of this and explained to my feeble mind basically what he's theorizing. I thought the couple of things that you showed me that I thought were really good were how explaining the story about how originally the flower of life, everybody just followed the lines and didn't understand the space, and you have the quite good models in there
yes.
of how they connect together and how you have managed to put it into a 3D shape rather than just people looking at 2D. Perhaps you want to explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, the idea of like
this guy's like egging him on. He knows that he's going to make a fool of himself, whatever he says. So he's trying to ask him. He's trying to make it sound like he's legitimately interviewing him at Oxford, and that some of his ideas actually have merit. And he's doing this at like an pro expert level of trolling, because he's just like he's keeping it. He's saving face. He's not abruptly laughing directly into Terrence Howard's face, which is what I think a lot of people should be doing.
One of the things I've been saying, the Euclidean mindset has kept us so locked away. Like there's tons of paperwork of Da Vinci working on the flower of life and trying to unravel it. But
Is
every
there?
single existence, every single example, you see him making straight lines and trying to make these straight lines bend in, and they're
Well, first of all, there's no way to make what you just showed, that whole thing that's made up of a bunch of circles, which I guess is called the flower of life. There's no way to make that with straight lines. Who's making that with straight lines? That makes no sense.
therefore he was never able to open it up because all the universe is curved, all space is curved. And as a result, what I was doing in trying to find these straight lines, I abandoned the idea of the straight line. The shortest distance between 2 points is curved space because you cannot force your way straight through space. Even electricity, as it moves from
Oh wait. To that point, he's got a good point, especially in spherical geometry, like I mentioned before. The geometry of how we navigate and things that take place on the surface of a sphere. Um, we actually call in general, the shortest distance between 2 points to be a geodesic. And in general, it actually is curved in spherical geometry. So he's got a point there. Again, he sprinkles in these like little nuggets of information that are actually true or make somewhat sense. And then it's just the basis of his entire argument, though, is just absolutely, it's just so unhinged and it's so um, hard to follow. And I think the thing is, it's hard to follow. And I think people that don't know enough mathematics or theoretical physics or whatever it is that he's describing feel like it's hard to follow because he knows what he's talking about. And that is actually an astonishing thing to think about. He must be a very manipulative person. He's basically gaslighting the entire crowd here. Like he's what's the word I'm looking for? He's just play acting. He's, putting on a little show as if he knows, you know, uh, as if he has some sort of new and weird scientific discoveries that no one's ever thought of before, and it very much looks like delusions of grandeur.
a southern plane to a northern plane, it always goes northeast in its direction. And magnetism, as it expands out, it goes southwesterly. And that's the spin. That's how you always know whether it's magnetism or electricity. It's the spin. Is it northeast or is it southwest?
So I don't know enough about particle physics to know if that makes any sense whatsoever. It sounds like it doesn't. And also, if he's thinking about quantum spin, as far as spin in that sense, that has nothing to do with the way things turn. It's just a word in quantum physics that they use to describe different states of something. And by the way, the terms for rotation are clockwise and counterclockwise. You don't rotate to the northeast. It doesn't make any sense.
But in trying to define curved matter, I'm so sorry, I get so distracted. Trying to define the
Has a weird
spaces,
smirk on his face there.
it
Wasn't that
allowed
odd?
me to see that all of these in between, what we have been dealing with is these petals. All of mankind have dealt with these petals, but it's these other shapes
Nobody is
that
doing
we've
it.
ignored.
And what is it? How come it's on? What is this? Like he's got a plastic sheet covering it's like a transparency. What is that? Did he think there was going to be an overhead projector? I'm so confused.
Constantly. Well, those other shapes were the in-between spaces. They were the things that
I like this
filled
guy
up
right here.
the
He's
vacuum of
he's
space.
taking
And all
pictures.
these particles that I have, I think, are the full proof of that. And it is also the full proof of the wave particle argument.
What full? Wait, did you say you have a full proof? Because I paused it on a really great expression on his face here too. By the way, he's claiming that he has full proofs of these. I think there was actually a PDF document floating around that I think he put on Twitter or something, explaining his whole argument. And he's not even gotten into this. But he's going to go on this huge tirade about how he doesn't think that 1 × 1 = 1. That he thinks that that's a big flaw in all of mathematics just because he doesn't understand it. He's talking about we need an audit on all of mathematics, and he's talking about the most basic shit, like things that our second and third graders understand. They have a better grasp of mathematics than Terrence Howard.
Yeah. Do you want to also explain the?
And again, the weird expressions on his face. Hold up, just one sec, because like what's going on here? Let's see that again.
Particle argument.
Yeah. Do you want to also explain a little bit about why?
It was like he kind of gives him a look, like he's almost intimidating him, and then he smiles, and then he starts looking right here, which I think the perfect description of his face right here is exactly what he is, and that is confused. He is very confused, and that right there is a really good encapsulation of that emotion, I think.
What your intention was in sort of bringing this up, and sort of because something you said was
Yep.
the next step is like, how do you apply this?
Well, here we are on this planet. Can I do that point? Our planet is moving away from our sun at 6 inches a year. You guys know that. 15 centimeters a year, our planet is pushing away from the sun. So in less than 500 million years, our planet will be out of the Goldilocks zone. Will be somewhere near where Mars is, somewhere halfway between there. So life will not be able to be sustained on this planet anymore.
Wait, did he say 500 million years? Like 500 million years? I'm pretty sure that there's no need for an alarm right at this moment.
So if we're going to be able to sustain ourselves as a species, we have to become interstellar. Not just interplanetary, you have to become interstellar. But with approximations, you cannot become interstellar. You cannot become interstellar with a point that will take you all the way over here with a straight line when the actual event is taking place over here. When you're going 600 quadrillion miles, you can't make a mistake. You need precision. And that's what the math is about. These pieces predict the natural distribution of matter and the distribution of where you can find yourself in that space, and I'm confident behind it. For 40 years I've worked on this.
You said 45 a second ago. And another reason, the fact that you're confident doesn't make it any more true or any more valid or any more replicable or even testable. And it fails when it's put to the scientific method. And that's why it's not science. That's why it's pseudoscience.
And I think it's ready.
It's ready. His theory of everything is ready. And by the way, this video was from like 5 years ago. And again, besides one little PDF, I think that popped up somewhere, which was absolutely incoherent. I have to go through that in a video as well, and just sort of, I guess, peer review it, as it were, and give it a good look and see if it's as incoherent as he is in person.
So I've sat also at lunch, basically trying to get my head around this, and also was very, very, very skeptical. And I put my hands up and say that. And one of the things that you mentioned was sort of about how this applies to, I think it was the electric sun model. And that's where it's a theory that suggests that the sun is powered from external forces rather than rather than nuclear fusion, which is the general consensus among scientists. And
Look at that. He's kind of looking around the room saying like, hey, are you challenging me? He's got that real cocky look about him, as in he knows what's up. Nobody else does. Nobody else believes him, which we shouldn't, because the science is just not there. It's literally just some of the strangest shit I've ever heard, bouncing around like a pinball in that little head of his.
And the reason for that is because there's not a production there's no evidence to suggest that the byproduct neutrinos are there. And
The neutrinos
what Terrence is trying to prove, I think, is that because the fact that you can't detect whether neutrinos are there or not, there must be another way in which they're powered. My argument to him is that to suggest that neutrinos don't exist, because we have a lot of evidence to not know that they're physically there, but a lot of the effects and how they interplay with other things, to suggest that they don't exist is not only to get rid of that small theory, but also quite a lot of other huge laws of physics.
Are they laws or are they ideas of physics?
Well, why don't you respond to that and talk about how a lot of people have that sort of narrow mindset? You talked about identity.
Yeah, the identity element. And the things that make our math works. Like if I said to you,
I feel like this girl in front here, I think she's just genuinely astonished. Like right up here, this girl right here in the front. I've been watching her. She's like, am I getting punked right now? Like, is this a secret hidden camera show and every single other person is in on it? Or is this a comedy? Like, she's so confused, and I would be too.
Not know that they're physically there, but a lot of the effects and how they interplay with other things. To suggest that they don't exist is not only to get rid of that small theory, but also quite a lot of other huge laws of physics.
Are they laws or are they ideas of physics?
Well, why don't you respond to that and talk about how a lot of people have that sort of narrow mindset? You talked about identity.
Yeah, the identity element, and then the things that make our math work.
Okay, and again, now here it gets personal with me because I know mathematics. And so he starts talking about the identity element. Okay, given the field of real numbers, basically the numbers that we're most used to using, there's two identity elements. Talking about abstract algebra now. There's the multiplicative identity, which means when you multiply another element by that element, you receive that same element back. A times 1 equals A. Multiplying by 1 results in things not changing. That's why they call it the identity. So same thing with addition. You have 0 being the additive identity element because it cancels out. It's sort of invisible. You can add 0 to any number A, and it's still A. Anything plus 0 is itself. It's the additive identity element. And now he is going to completely throw that away, as if it's not completely terribly obvious in, I don't know, anyone that's even studied elementary mathematics.
That identity.
Yeah, the identity element, and then the things that make our math works. Like if I said to you, what's 1 times 1? What'd you say? 1? It equals 1? Now,
yes, I would say that.
What would Newton say is that?
He would say the exact same thing because he was not an idiot.
Action times an action. That's a reaction, right? Anybody in here that thinks 1 times 1 equals 1, then you give me 2 pounds and I'll give you a pound back.
How did 2 get involved? You just said 1 times 1 equals 1, which is true. And now you're saying, well, if you think that's true, then give me 2 pounds. You are the one that brought up 2. Oh my God.
And we'll call that even, right? Because 1 times 1 equals 1. An unbalanced equation. What we need to do is the first.
I think I think he's just mistaking multiplication for addition. I think he's confused.
First thing in math is you're supposed to have a balanced equation. 1 times 1 equaling 1 is an unbalanced equation. But the identity element, which
1 is the identity element.
Which is like the Jim Crow laws of the 60s.
Okay, hold up. Hold the phone. This is, of all the weird, unexpected things that he could have just said, wow. Let's rewind that. Hold on there.
An unbalanced equation. What we need to do is the first thing in math is you're supposed to have a balanced equation. 1 times 1 equaling 1 is an unbalanced equation. But the identity element, which is like the Jim Crow laws of the 60s, They say that anything multiplied by 1 becomes that same number as itself. Well,
Yeah,
the
it
laws of
is.
physics has to break down in order for that to take place. Action and reaction
No,
for
no, it
1
doesn't.
times 1 to equal 1.
You're
In
extremely
comparison
confused,
to
sir.
if I said, what's a dollar times a dollar? Anybody know it's a dollar? Well, what's
There's no such. It does not make sense to multiply a dollar times a dollar because then you get a square dollar. You get a dollar squared, which is a meaningless unit unless you're maybe doing some, maybe a little bit more advanced economics involving math, like something with quadratics where you have to square. But um, no one says a dollar times a dollar. If you want to do is you want to multiply it by a scalar, such as 1, which is unitless. It does not have a unit. It's just a scalar. It scales things up and down. And you could say $1 times 1 is $1. Yes. $1 times 2 is $2. Yep. $1 times 3, and so on. But you don't say $3 times $3, because if you say that, you get 9 square dollars. Like it would be like a dollar sign with a little 2 superscript. So, and that makes no sense. So again, uh, it's painful to listen to the next minute or so of this, but I feel like I should just let you listen to it unfiltered and just react as you will. Let's rewind it again a little bit, tiny bit. I feel like this guy right now, honestly, because I can't even tell if he's got his hand to his forehead because he's just sort of like, oh God, you're stupid. Just like, or if he's trying to stop himself from laughing out loud. I think that's more of what he's trying to do, or hide the smirk on his face because this guy over here is literally rambling like a mental case. Okay, let's come on, Terrence, impress us, Terrence, impress me.
physics has to break down in order for that to take place. Action and reaction for 1 times 1 to equal 1. In comparison to if I said, what's a dollar times a dollar? Anybody know it's a dollar? Well, what's a dime times a dime, or 10 pence?
10 pence, yeah.
10 pence times 10 pence? That's a pound, right? 10 pence times 10 pence? Is that right, honey? What about 100 pence times 100 pence? That's a pound times a pound, right?
He doesn't even
That's
know basic
$100,
math.
ain't it? What about a quarter?
What?
What about 4 quarters times 4 quarters? That's a dollar, right? That's a pound, right? Well, that's $4. Now, all of these things
Oh
are
God,
legal. The
this
banks
is
can say a
weird.
dollar
This is
times a
weird.
dollar is a dollar and give you that. Or the banks can say to a friend, a dollar times a dollar is a quarter times a quarter. It's 4 quarters times 4 quarters, and give that person $4. They can say to
What?
another person, a dollar times a dollar is 100 pence times 100 pence. That person gets $100. So that money is generated. And this is all legal. Do you think it's not happening in the banks? This is what 1 times 1 equaling 1 has got us. This inconsistency of our monies and our economy is sitting in the balance. And the rest of our
This is so weird.
future is sitting in the balance because our science has been stunted as a result of the problems in mathematics, because math asks for the basic laws of physics to break down in order for 1 times 1 to equal 1. In order for 1 times 0 to equal nothing, laws of conservation of energy has to disappear. And math is the foundating laws of math is supposed to support the laws of physics. They are arm in arm. They cannot be in
Right,
controversy
right.
with each other. So we need an audit on the Platonic solids. We need an audit on the square root of 2. And we need an audit on action and reaction. Or we either got
All right, that's a lot to take in. We need an audit on the square root of 2. We need an audit on, what did he say? Uh, he wants to audit mathematics. He doesn't, oh, the Platonic solids, once again, bringing up some of the weirdest stuff that he can bring up. I mean, sacred geometry, just, I don't know what is going on in his brain, but it doesn't make sense. It's hilarious, but it's also sad, and it sucks. I feel bad for him being invited to Oxford, and he probably thinks that, people are there to hear his theories and stuff. And most of them, I'm sure, besides the ones that kind of just kind of like tussle and flow. I mean, I think the majority of the audience there is there to mock him and make fun of him. Uh, this video's going on to about after 25 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Um, but again, this should be concerning. This concerns me. It's like I want to warn everybody out there, like don't let your kids watch Terrence Howard videos because they will grow up not knowing anything about mathematics and also not being able to logically reason things out because of listening to the ramblings of this absolute nut job. I say that, just as fair criticism. I think anyone that's going to publish a paper in a field of research that they claim to, actually be actively involved in, should be able to take criticism. And I only have a bachelor's degree, so Jesus Christ. Anyway, yeah, we'll see how that comes out. We'll see you in the next video.